Thank you, everyone. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning. No, I shouldn't say that. I got out of my house at 5 o'clock this morning to make it out west. So I have to tell you something. For those of you who know the map of Massachusetts, I live all the way up here, and we're all the way over here. The reason why I bring that up is my whole world growing up revolved around my native Chelsea and Boston. And I will be honest that when I heard of Northampton, I thought it was part of New York's summer residence. You know, you hear the stories that first impressions are often the most important. The first impression I had of Northampton was a mayor who would come east often to fight for good public policy. I was a city manager at the time. I was smart enough, Claire, not to put my name on the ballot. I instead got hired to work for office. I often joke that I didn't have to raise funds at the time, and if I wanted to kiss a baby, it was only because I felt like it, not because I was campaigning for it. So, you like babies. So. My first impression of Northampton was your then mayor, Claire Higgins. And if ever a community could have an ambassador that gave good first impressions, it was Claire Higgins. And so in the back of my mind for the longest time had been that Northampton must be a pretty special place. And I got to come out and be with the new mayor, or relatively new mayor, Mayor Narkowitz, and it was a rainy day. But the weather forecast may have been lousy, but the aura around the mayor and the vision that he had really made it a worthwhile trip. And we walked up and down Pleasant Street. Mayor, I think I got a parking ticket. So. The strategy, as a city manager, the strategy was when developers would come to City Hall, you never knew if they were going to invest. So you kept them for 2 hours and 5 minutes so that you could at least get parking violations. So Mayor Narkowitz walked me up and down the streets. I got a thank you for coming to Northampton in the form of an orange envelope. Took me to Harold's, brought me a frap. So anyway, what I saw and heard was an opportunity that Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito talk about regularly in working with communities to help produce. See, the governor's a former select person, Lieutenant Governor's had municipal experience, I'm a former city manager and planner. So we know how important community vision is to making a healthy community happen. And what we heard from the mayor and what we felt from many other people that we talked to about this project was that this was an important project, not only for the people who were going to reside here, but for the entire community. And Mayor Narkowitz talked about that not every community is as accepting as Northampton is for projects like this. Look around you. How foolish are they? Right? This is the type of project that every community should be proud of, every community should aspire to do. And so I congratulate all of you. And it made it easy for us, made it easy for the governor, the lieutenant governor to say yes to this. We need to talk about a couple of other people who aren't here, who are also very influential in this. Stan Rosenberg has been known to buy me a frap or a milkshake or two as well. I think I've developed a reputation around the Commonwealth that if you want millions of dollars in grant money, just buy me a $5 frap. So, you know, Stan Rosenberg, in his leadership in the Senate, partnering with a Republican administration to make the funding available so that a Republican administration can come out and give the Democratic mayor the funds necessary to achieve his vision is the best of what government is all about. And Stan's leadership made sure that the money was going to be available statewide, and every time I sat in front of Stan to ask him for his support, he would say that I'm very happy to provide this statewide support. But some of this is going to make it back to my district, right? And he winked. I knew what the wink was. Yes, Mr. President, that was the answer back. So I recognize Stan for his work in making sure that the funding was available. It's been a pleasure to work with him on so many projects in his district that have been so important to him. I can't stand here without thinking about our dear departed Representative Peter Cope. Peter and I were old friends from days back in the State House, and I had a wonderful Saturday with Peter where we drove around his district, and he talked about the projects that he wanted to do. And as we drove through Northampton, I could tell how excited he was, but also how proud he was of what was happening here. And as I sit here and think about that Saturday, I know that Peter's looking down on us and is really happy with what has transpired. And so it's a great tribute to somebody who's left us, that the legacy continues to go on and on and on. To the congressional representatives who are here, thank you. The fact of the matter is, for those of you who have never financed an affordable housing project, it's as complicated as breaking the code into the Federal Reserve. Without federal dollars, federal housing dollars, that get pushed down to states, that we can push down to municipalities, none of these projects would be possible. Congressman McGovern has been very active in talking to us about housing throughout his district, and working with the two senators, Warren and Markey, have been a pleasure providing us with resources, but more importantly, providing us with leadership so that Washington continues to deliver funding for affordable housing projects throughout the state. So that brings me to my last good new friend. Roger, I'll let you talk about everybody else, right? I'm going to talk about Peter for a minute. So again, I'm from Eastern Mass. I don't know who Peter Gagliardi is. You know, Peter, a little bit of a nudge. And I say that with all due respect. You know, I come out here as a new secretary, and you want to get to know places, and I frankly have fallen in love with being out here. I recently said to my wife, you know, maybe we should move out west. She told me to get a one-bedroom if we did. So. But anyway, I fallen in love with Western Mass, and so I'd come to more and more meetings. And there would be this guy who would like follow me around at each meeting. And first I thought it was a Springfield thing. And then I'd get outside of Springfield, and I'd be in Chicopee or Holyoke or Northampton or East Hampton. The same guy would finally went up and said, "What do you follow me around for?" He said, "Well, Jay, we have a project over here, we have a project over here, we have a project over there." That's when I got it. And as city manager, what I try to do, Mayor, I think you try to do the same thing. What you try to do is you try to identify special people in the community who do good. Who do good for the people that we all care about. You try to identify them, and then you give them the longest leash that you possibly can to let them go off and do good things. And Peter, I have to tell you that if I was still in the leash business, the leash would extend all the way to Boston, because we could do a lot worse than having you perform your magic in cities and towns all around the Commonwealth. So I want to thank you, Peter, for your passion. These projects, ladies and gentlemen, are not easy to do. They're not for the faint of heart. So what Peter has done is he's been able to cobble together money from many of you in the audience. I'm here representing Mass Housing and DACD. Lionel's here. Roger will talk a little bit. And we've got a long list of programs that we've gone through in order to help finance this project. We invest in projects, but we invest in people, and we especially invest in people that we know are doing good with our money, and for the people that we all care about. Peter, there's not a project that you've come to me for that didn't fill that description. But more importantly, you should all know that Peter and I have had now scores of conversations. And never once has Peter asked for himself. It's always for the people that he is trying to help out in the special way that he does. So, you know, in summary, I'm glad to be the dollar sign that walks into town. I'm glad that the mayor talks about my multiple checkbooks, and people buy me $5 fraps that cost me, the taxpayers, $2 million. Most importantly, what I'm grateful for is I'm grateful for communities that come together and say, we're going to make a difference. We're not going to talk the talk. We're actually going to walk the walk. In this case, we're going to empower people like Peter and his great staff. We're going to welcome in people from other parts of the state. We're going to look for investors who get the message. And we're all going to come together and make a difference in the lives of people who need our help. So congratulations to you all. Know that on behalf of Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito, on behalf of your legislators, this will not be our last time in Northampton, because every time you do a project right, it gets us more excited about coming out for the next one. Thank you all for what you've done, and thank you for being the leaders that you are.